Hi everyone, it's Paul. Hope you're okay. You asked for Aintree videos, you ask, you get. This is the video for day one of the 2025 Aintree Festival, my local course, obviously. Sorry this is coming out a bit late. Got very tied up in Liverpool winning the Merseyside derby and being 4 wins from the title, so yeah, I'm not going to make apologies for it. This is the video for day one. It's going to be a lot more chilled, bit more less structured than the Cheltenham ones, as always. But we're going to kick off on the Thursday with the 145, which is the Manifesto Novices Chase. It's a grade 1 over 2 mile 3. Really interesting race here. Some interesting bits of festival form, but a lot of horses here have obviously missed the festival to run here, which is a really interesting take. Now, watching back over the last couple of years, the horses that missed Cheltenham to go to Aintree generally perform quite well, and the turnaround time between Cheltenham and Aintree this year is a lot less. The obvious place to start is the Arkle winner, Django Bay, for Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville. How this one won the Arkle, I'm still not 100% sure. Was prominence, dropped right away over 2 mile, but fair play to him, came home like an absolute train over 2 mile up the hill and won really well in the end. I remember our picking that one. I thought we had it at the last, to be honest. So it was like, right, okay, after Mantra made the mistake, but just didn't fully get home at Lodersud that day, which I still can't believe he didn't even hit the frame. Now, what I would say is, based on the historics on this, Django Bay did have a really hard race. He was being ridden from, I watched the replay before, when was it? He started to drop back and was getting ridden at the just after the pond fence, really, on the back straight at Cheltenham, and was getting really ridden at the open ditch at the top of the hill, but fair play to him, he clearly stays. Gidley Park is interesting here for Harry Fry and Brian Carver. Very, very good hurdler this. Was wrong first run of the season, but duly made up for it there. That horse is the least, it's the most likely race this season out of this lineup, and could have a lot more to give, though obviously yet to be tested at the proper high levels for me. Over fences. Croke Park is interesting. Gordon Elliott, Sam Ewing for Jigginstown. Won the first 3 this season really, really well. And to be honest with you, it looks a lot more natural chaser, I would say, from what I've seen, than hurdler. There was one run in particular, I'm just looking through the thing now, beating Heartwood, that where he made all. That's proven to be a really good piece of form. And then even stepped up to 3 miles, beat Better Days Ahead on Boxing Day, which that's a really good, in the long distance novice, that's a really good piece of form. Better Days Ahead run a really good race in the, what do they call it now, the Brown Advisory, I still call it the RSA. And to be fair, at the Dublin Racing Festival, over 2 mile 5, his second to Ballyburn. Okay, that form's been let down. Ballyburn was poor at the festival, but he looks a generally progressive horse. If you look at what he's run to this year, Racing Post rating a 127, then up to a 148, then up to a 152 the last twice. It's good, solid form. But for the win, I am actually going for Impere Pass for Willie Mullins and Paul Townend. Again, another horse that seems to have intentionally skipped the festival to come here. Won the Grade 1 Aintree Hurdle last year, which was really good. Back over fences this year, won an egg and spoon race at Fairyhouse really well, but it was the run over Christmas beating Jordans, who actually didn't have the best of runs through at Cheltenham, but run a solid race. But he beat him in the Grade 1, they call it the Forheen Chase now, doing all of the best work at the finish. Came third to Ballyburn at the Dublin Racing Festival, and he was beaten 5 lengths by Croke Park in second, but this horse has a real aptitude for good ground, and I've just got a feeling as well, if a horse is gonna improve for this race, I just think Impere Pass, I just think the track suits him, I think the ground suits him. Willie Mullins' yard's on fire at the moment. And I just think Impere Pass is the way to go here. For a 1, 2, 3, it will be Impere Pass from Do you know what? I'm going to put in Gidley Park and Croke Park. I've just got a feeling Django Bay, the edge might have been taken off him. The 220 is the Boodles, a 4-year-old juvenile hurdle over 2 miles. It's like basically like the Fred Winter ran to, but for Aintree, really. And I must be honest, it's not original. I'm a massive fan of Put Your Hands Together. Joseph O'Brien trains, Mark Walsh rides in the JP McManus colours. As I said, it's a four-year-olds. It's a really difficult type to weigh up. I've always said this, but the way that this horse won the Fred Winter at Cheltenham was really, really impressive. It was the way he travelled that got me. And with the long straight at Aintree, that's absolutely ideal. Pulled readily away by 6 lengths. Never looked in any danger of note from the top of the hill, really. And even though we said, horses taking the edge off it at Cheltenham, and that is true, he didn't have a hard race. He won as he liked. Had 4 runs over hurdles, so got enough experience for this field. I'm really struggling to back against this one here. Live Conti is interesting for Harry and Dan Skelton. For this one, hasn't had that much experience over hurdles. In fact, he's only had 2 runs in pretty much the last 3 years. One in Auteuil, where he won back in October. He then moved to Dan Skelton and then won a race at Wetherby, which, to be honest, it was a very small, very low-grade race. How good he is, you don't know. If there's an improver in the field, I think it's likely to be him, if I'm being honest. I've really got to mention, again, not much experience, is Phil Bustering for Harry Derham, Paul O'Brien taking the ride. Main reason is the Harry Derham yard is on fire at the moment. It's performing really, really well. Now, as I said, but we had a decent flat campaign for Tim Easterby last year. In December, moved to Harry Derham. He's had just the 1 run, which was at the start of March, and won it well enough. Now, as I said, some of his handicap form on the flat was really good, and the yard form is good, and especially with horses that they've transitioned from the flat. So that's interesting. Now, Mercy is in here with the Mers allowance for Willie Mullins, Patrick Mullins. Actually, Paul Tannen's riding this one, isn't he? And that one was, I suppose you'd say, a creditable 8th in the Fred Winter, only beaten about 8 lengths, but was well and truly put in his place by the favourite tomorrow that day. And I think is just a layer above or a layer below what you need. Also ran in the Fred Winter was Wendrock for Gordon Elliott and Sam Ewan. Finished just in front of Mercier. But again, a little bit below the level that you would imagine. Now, Joseph O'Brien does well with his horses that he sends over to Aintree, and he's got one in here called Naturally Nimble as well. In his second hurdle race, this one won a grade 3 at Fairy House right at the start of December it was. Won it quite well, won going away, to be honest with you, at a huge price. Came out at Leopardstown 3 weeks later, was nowhere near up to that level, but did a lot of his best work at the finish. Has won on decent ground at Navan on the flat. And I think there could be more to come from him. And as I said, the trainer's record here makes him very much of interest. But for the winner, it's hard to go against Put Your Hands Together, to be honest. I was really taken with his Cheltenham performance. And I think that is the percentage call. 1, 2, 3 then for the Boodles 4-year-old hurdle. Put Your Hands Together from Naturally Nimble. And you know what? I'm going to put Phil Bustering in there as well. I've just got a feeling there could be a little bit more to come from there. And then it brings us on to the big race of day 1, which is the 255, which is, it's now called the Brooklands Bowl, always called the Betfair Bowl. I'll always think of it like that. And it's a really, really good race. Some horses missed Cheltenham, others didn't. Going for the ones who ran at Cheltenham, Ahoy Senor was actually going really, really well in the Gold Cup. When he fell a long way from home, you never know. But he was enjoying himself, and he does have a cracking record around Aintree, which makes him a real danger. The Real Whacker came 5th, beaten a long, long way in the Gold Cup. He is what he is, but if the main talent performs, he's a level below these, if I'm being honest. Embassy Gardens won really well a couple of starts ago. It was actually Michael O'Sullivan was on him, and it was his last graded winner before he sadly passed away following the fall. Not as good next time. The percentage call on this one is to swerve him because he was pulled up first time, really good second time, not as good third time. You don't know what you're going to get. Now, Stage Star would be of interest for me. For Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden, but two things have put me off. He didn't end last season particularly well for me. He didn't end the season well. He didn't start this season particularly well as well, including he started the season in the Old Roan Chase, came 4th of 5. Went to Cheltenham not long after in December, didn't run well, but run an absolute screamer of a race. It has to be said in the Cotswolds Chase, only beaten 3/4 of a length by, who was it? It was Lon Pressey, wasn't it, in the Cotswold Chase? My concern I've got is the form of the Nicholls yard. The yard is very, very inconsistent at the moment, and that is a huge, huge worry for me. Now, Gaelic Warrior didn't go to Cheltenham. Now, what I do know on this, he didn't go to Cheltenham not because they wanted to keep him for this. He wasn't right. He wasn't working well enough for Cheltenham. Now, seeing as Cheltenham was only a few weeks ago, I don't know if you can bank on enough that he has suddenly sprung back into form and started working well enough to go and win something like this. That would be the concern. Now, Spillane's Tower, James Mangan, Mark Walsh taking the ride, is of large interest. He started the season really, really well. I must be honest, I thought he was one who could eventually, in time, potentially could be looking at a Gold Cup horse here. Now, what I would say is he beat Monty Star. Now, that was decent form, but that form hasn't worked out with the Gold Cup. But over in November, he only got beaten half a length over a shorter trip by Factor File, who absolutely walked in the Ryanair, good form. He was then favourite for the King George, but was beaten a long, long way by Banbridge. That wasn't the best form, and Banbridge has let that form down, it has to be said, with a poor run in the Gold Cup. However, given a good break, if he refines that initial form, you would have to say Spillane's Tower here is a live danger to all. And I think the probability is they were probably been getting him ready because they probably figured out he's not really a Gold Cup horse, but they were probably getting him ready for Aintree, and it makes him a huge danger for me. Now, the obvious one which we have left out here is Grey Dawning, a horse that I absolutely love. Now, Grey Dawning has a very mixed record around Aintree. It has to be said. He's run here many times. Going back to 2022, he run in a hurdle here and was beaten at odds on. He was then running in when was it? It was in the Sefton Novices later that season and fell early, which wasn't the best one. In April last year, he ran in the Manifesto Novices at a short price and got beat. So you do have to worry about the overall balance of Grey Dawning, if I'm being honest. Now, he's got some really solid form even this season. A really, really good second in probably totally too soft ground behind Royal Pagaille. It was then pulled up in the King George when I really fancied him with no reason given. But then in March, he came out and he beat Irocco in the Premier Chase up at Kelso. Now, I really, really fancy Irocco for the Grand National. Fancied him for a long time. But I keep coming back to the percent. I did want to back him, the percentage call. And I don't know, you can't say he hasn't fired around Aintree. He just doesn't run as well as you would hope he would around Aintree. So for the selection, I am actually going for Spillane's Tower. I know there's a bit of a risk after his disappointment in the King George, but I just think he won first time out. He's been off the track now for 13, 14 weeks, so this will feel like a fresh start. And I just think at 7-2, he's a bit more value than Grey Dawning, currently at 15-8. 1, 2, 3 then for the bowl. We're going for Spillane's Tower. I'm going to go Spillane's Tower, from Ahoy Senor, and I still think Grey Dawning's got the ability to run a good race. Then you've got what a race this is, the 3:30, the Aintree Hurdle. This could be construed as the biggest race of the day, I guess, couldn't you? Though on prize money, it's just the Betfair Bowl. Now, obviously, it comes down to the big two, and that is Constitution Hill versus Lossiemouth. But I am going to put a very honourable mention in for Wad-Who here. For Gordon Elliott, Danny Gilligan taking the ride, because I must be honest, I was really, really taken with his win in the finale at Aintree in the Martin Pipe Conditional. He travelled like a good horse throughout, found plenty at the end, and it was a very solid performance. And like I said in the video, that is a launch pad for so many careers, it has to be said. And she did it really well. And you couldn't knock it before that. Before then, she went to Cheltenham before Christmas and beat Joyeuse really, really well. That was her first run for nearly a year. Now, if you look at the record, she's completely unbeaten over hurdles, which you can't ask for much more, but has never come up with against anything of the potential quality of Lossiemouth and Constitution Hill. The others in here seemingly have absolutely no chance. They have run not even close to a stone behind Lossiemouth and Constitution Hill. You can't make a case for them. Now, for the win, where does this go? You've got the mare Lossiemouth, who won the Mares Hurdle at an absolute canter at the festival. Now, with everything that went on in the Champion Hurdle, with Constitution Hill falling, State Man falling with the race of Mercy, Brighter Days Ahead showing does not like Cheltenham. I think that is safe to say. You never know what would have happened. Now, Constitution Hill did win this race, has won this race before, which you do often get multiple winners of this race. So that's fine. Granted, it was a couple of years ago, because obviously he's had his problems. Now, I've heard things saying that, like, oh, he was all out over 2.5 miles in this, and it was only against Sharjah. I thought he absolutely walked it, to be honest with you. Now, since that run 2 years ago, he's only run 4 times, won 3, and fell. But it was too far out in the Champion Hurdle, wasn't it, to know exactly what was going to go on. But has already beaten Lossiemouth this season on his first run for over a year, and won this race before. While Lossiemouth, everyone goes on because he fell last time, but if people forget, Lossiemouth, who I love and adore, fell 2 starts ago as well. Lossiemouth, this is her trip. I believe this is her trip. And she does get the £7 allowance off Constitution Hill. But I am going to go with Constitution Hill, currently around even money, because they would have done a lot of schooling. The signs have been there that the engine is still there. And I just think I'm going to give Constitution Hill the chance. Why? Because he deserves it after what he's done in his career. And and there's nothing in it, especially with this allowance over this trip. I'm just favouring Constitution Hill. 1, 2, 3 then for the Aintree Hurdle, Constitution Hill from Lossiemouth and Wad-Who. Next up is a race I absolutely hate. It's the Fox Hunter Chase, 2 mile 5 over the Grand National course. And it's for the amateur riders, and it is impossible to know what the hell is going to go on here, to be honest with you. The obvious starting place to go is, will it go ahead? Mr. Scanlon, as the jockey is named as, takes the ride for Gordon Elliott. What I would say is the run in the Hunter Chase behind Wonderwall was really, really solid, staying on well, has got good point form. Whether he'll take to the fences, again, you never really know, but that form of Cheltenham was quite solid. For all, again, it was a pretty hard race, it has to be said. Now, the class horse of the race, if you're going back about 4 years, is My Drogo, Edward Walker Trames, Will Biddick book for the ride. That in itself is quite fascinating, it has to be said. And I do like that one. Has been making hay over points in the last couple of months. Returned to rules in a Hunter Chase at Haydock and travelled well, won going away, and would seem to be the class horse of the race. Lifetime ambition for the Doyle Yard, Robbie James taking the ride. Very interesting horse as well. Now, to be honest, in terms of others, the problem is now they're using point to point to go and make cases for other horses, and it's hard to make a case for it. Milan Fourth is interesting for Adrian Murray. Healy taking the ride because he made it 2 for 2 in Hunter Chasers at Down Royal last time and is only 6, so could be improving. But I am going for the tried and tested previous form here, and I am giving a chance to My Drogo. I know he's a 10-year-old, obviously had his problems, but 8 to 1, a lot of bookies paying top 6. I just got a feeling for this horse. So for the 1, 2, 3 here, it's not original. I'm going for My Drogo here from Milan Fourth. Again, I think that one's possibly overpriced and improving at 16 to 1. And will it go ahead? The 440 is the Red Rum Handicap Chase, which is like the Grand Annual Part 2, to be honest with you. Honourable mention here for Tommy's Oscar, who's shown a real liking for this this summer ground, as I call it, but has got a huge weight off 12 stone. But Danny McMenamin's a jockey I like. Hunter's Yarn last year was destined for the top, but the wheels have well and truly fallen off. General Madrano, My Mate Mozzie, both ran really good races in the Grand Annual. There was unlimited money for Primoz, but he lost all chance at the start. So that one, you have to say, is dangerous. While Sans Brouilly has won this before over course and distance, but form has been miles off this season. But for the win, I'm actually going for Petit Tonnerre for the John Joe O'Neill Jr. yard. Now, I actually have tipped this up on the WhatsApp service twice this season. The first time it won, beating the reopposing General Madrano back in January, but was favourite and was actually travelling really well when brought down, basically, at Doncaster last time. Deliberately missed Cheltenham, which I think is good. Has got previous good course form in a handicap chase at the start of the season, just behind Imperial Saint, who has gone on to bigger and better things, and has got in here off 10 stone 6. And at 9 to 1, at the odds, that's the percentage call. So the 1, 2, 3 for the Red Rum Chase is Petit Tonnerre. I'm going to put in My Mate Mozzie on the back of a good run in the, what's it called? The Grand Annual. And do you know what? I think Tommy's Oscar is going to outrun his odds off top weight at 18 to 1. Which brings us to the conclusion, which is the 5:15. And it's a horrible race, as we said. It's the Mears Open flat race. It's a grade 2. Now, going straight in for the win, I'm actually going here, and I quite strongly fancy it, even though it's a horrible race with lurkers. I am going for Charisma Cat for Alan King. Alan King has targeted this race many times, and he's won on it many times. I remember going in person with my brother about 6 years ago and backed the Glancing Queen, who won, and I really fancied it that day. I had a nightmare day, 1-0, and that cropped in. I got it at 7 to 1 and ended up walking out up, which is crazy. Started the season, it last summer, won really well, came back in November, won well, then stepped up to listed level at Market Raisin and went down a neck, which was such a shame. And then went to Sandown at the start of this month and kept on really well. I think this one's got improvement in it, and this is my idea of a plot for Alan King. A lot of bookies paying top 4 or even top 5 on this, and 6 to 1 in places. I think that's too big. The favourite is C. Lin for the Toomey yard, and Wayne Lee taking the ride. I think this one is a worthy favourite, it has to be said. Went to Cheltenham, been at the start of November, beat a horse called Shog Gall, I think it's pronounced, who's gone on to bigger and better things. Overall balance of form is good. Been off the track for a while, but that's not a big problem in these bumpers, and that's why it's a nightmare. Things happen at the wrong time. Now, Strong Run is interesting because the Fergal O'Brien yard is on fire. Johnny Burke taking the ride. It was a bit hit and miss, but came really good last time out. Had a nice 7-week break since, and has got the potential for more to come. But at a big price, look at the Peter and Michael Bowen train. James Bowen taking the ride. Queen Kate. This is a fascinating This is a fascinating runner because has only had the one run. And that was at Doncaster a couple of weeks ago, but won it really, really well. Now, the fact that she's turned out so quick, this horse could be anything. And at 50-1, and a yard who do make a habit of winning at Aintree and also having horses outrunning the odds at Aintree, I think this one is worth a deep consideration, especially if there's money. But for the win, I am happy with Charisma Cat. I do think Charisma Cat has got more to come. So the 1, 2, 3 then, for the closing Mers bumper, it's Charisma Cat from Seo Lin. And do you know what? I'm going to put in Queen Kate as well. Okay, guys, hope this is hopeful. Let me know what you're doing, and I'll be back tomorrow for day 2. Take care, guys. Bye.